would you care to chime in on who you think is now currently the greatest living ball player on our planet, Bob? Since that obviously was Willie Mays prior to his passing. But who?
Yeah, you could make a case, and a good one, for the pre-steroid Barry Bonds. There's such a clear line of demarcation from when he went from being what he was, an inner circle elite Hall of Famer on his natural merits, a genuinely great player, one of the greatest of all time, and then became superhuman. But the pre-late 1990s Barry Bonds has a case, but so too does Ken Griffey Jr. And maybe in a way, if you're looking for a comp for Willie Mays, because they were both center fielders, and Griffey was a fabulous defensive outfielder, wall scaling outfielder, and had 2 seasons where he hit more than 50 homers. Granted, it was a homer happy era, but he might have been, in his exuberance, his nickname was the Kid, wearing the hat backwards. That's kind of comparable to Willie. You could feel his joy of the game, and that transmitted to fans. Maybe Ken Griffey Jr. is the closest comp. And now Shohei Ohtani, whose resume is still building, but Shohei Ohtani is a unicorn in the history of baseball. We've talked about this before. Yeah, Ruth was a Hall of Fame level pitcher before he became exclusively a hitter, but he never did them simultaneously at his highest level. Whereas Ohtani, not this year because of the Tommy John surgery, but he'll be back next year. He's doing something at a high level in modern baseball that nobody has ever done. So I guess he's another guy you can make a case for. Joe Posnanski, whose opinion I respect, thought that maybe Rickey Henderson had been overlooked in this discussion, because Rickey was a speedster who hit for power. He stole more bases than anybody, was a factor every time he was on the bases. He was not a great defensive left fielder. I mean, I like pre-steroid Bonds and Ken Griffey Jr. for that answer a little bit more than Rickey Henderson. But I do think that Rickey Henderson, although he was the first ballot Hall of Famer, I think is undervalued in terms of where he falls somewhere on the all-time list, because he was an extremely impactful player every time he was on the field.
Yeah, and I guess one must look for a multiple tool player to be a candidate for this conversation. I threw out the name of Pete Rose earlier in this program. Bob, what would you say about that?
Yeah. There's a difference between iconic players, and Pete is on the short list of iconic players, and the greatest of the great. Would Pete have been, absent the controversies, a new unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer? Of course. He's the all-time hit king. I think he won 3 batting titles. He was a past MVP. He was an all-star as an outfielder, third baseman, second baseman, and first baseman, which is a distinctive thing. But he doesn't have the power of the guys that we generally discuss in this way. He doesn't have Ruth's power, or Mantle, or Mays, or Aaron, or Ted Williams. He doesn't fit there. And he wasn't as great a defensive player as a contemporary, to throw another name in there, like Roberto Clemente. And, Roberto Clemente is someone you can cite for the point that we were making earlier. Does Roberto Clemente have the home run totals of his greatest contemporaries? No, he doesn't. But he was, in his own way, about as distinctive as Willie Mays was. And then he was also the first Hispanic superstar, true superstar in Major League Baseball. And that gave him a real appeal to a certain portion of baseball fans. And then he dies young as a hero on a mission of mercy, taking supplies to earthquake victims in Nicaragua. So he has a place in baseball history and a place in the imagination that can't be matched by anyone else. Because like all the greatest, you think of actors or musical performers, you can have debates who you like better and how you rank them. But the Beatles are not the Rolling Stones, and neither of them are Bruce Springsteen. It's just, the world would be poorer if Bruce Springsteen set out to be Mick Jagger. Would also look weird, by the way. But anyway,
I understand the analogy. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Of course. Yeah.
Bob Dylan has a place because of where he landed and the impact on society that he had. But if Paul Simon just wanted to become like 1A to Bob Dylan, then his career and the world would be the lesser for it. You know, you can appreciate them both for different reasons, and I think that's kind of what I'm attempting to say here about all the great ball players of the past. It wasn't just the statistical comps, as presences and as what they meant and as how they remain in memory. They are all distinctive.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.